Hello, everyone. And this is Noreen, your host, and welcome to another episode of In Conversation with. And today we're in conversation with Elias. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for the invitation. For me, it's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So, Elias, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, it's a difficult question. I am a traveler, a hiker. I am from Colombia. I started hiking since I was a child because I grew up in the Colombian coffee mountains. And for me, like the mountains have like a lot of power. And since I was very child, I love to hike, and it is why I decided to work with ecotourism in Colombia. I have been working with ecotourism for 7 years with different communities in Colombia, remote communities, like not in the main cities, communities that were affected by the armed conflict, and is something that I am very proud. And also in this moment, I am traveling as a volunteer. I started this travel like last year in the United States. I stayed there for 5 months, and now I am in the UK. I will be here for 5 months, I think, and after that I will travel. I don't know where, maybe Europe, Asia. Let's see. And I don't know what more to tell, but I decided like to travel because my idea is to like have a better understanding about the world, and I think that travel is a really good thing, and as a good tool, and as a volunteer is the perfect way to have a deep immersion in the cultures.
Absolutely. I would completely agree. Traveling allows us to really expand our mind and be more open-minded and be flexible and adaptable and be appreciative of other cultures. I always say that I was very lucky to be able to have traveled around a lot from a very young age. So already from a young age, I was, mindful of the different types of cultures and people around the world, and be respectful of one another's cultures as well. But I've never come across anyone who's traveling as a volunteer. I've never done that myself. So tell us a little bit more about what is it like traveling as a volunteer? Now you've been in the US for 5 months, and now you're in the UK for another 5 months, and hopefully you can continue doing that. Tell us a little bit more about that experience.
It's a huge experience. My experience here in the UK is so different than my experience in the United States. Like here, I feel more comfortable. The people is more friendly, and it's a challenge. It's like face yourself like without your comfort zone, because maybe when you are traveling as a volunteer, could happen a lot of things. Maybe you can find a difficult host, and you need to manage the situation. Maybe something happened with the train, with the bus, and you don't know really good the language. Maybe there are a lot of things that can happen. But all my life, I am like an explorer. I always want to go to a mountain and continue like looking for more. But for me, it's like go to the mountains and see the mountains is not something meaningful. I need to try to hike or to go to the mountains with that purpose. And I found that traveling as a volunteer is a really good like excuse to say, okay, let's go to see the world, but let's go to help people. Let's go to see what is the people thinking about different ideas. Like go very deep in the culture of every person that I am visiting. And also it's a way that, for example, I have never worked with wood, and in this travel, I am enjoying that, and I am thinking, oh, maybe I can like continue working with wood, because it's something that I really like. Or maybe just like this week I was in the garden, because I am right now in a Buddhist community, and I was in the garden and I was thinking, oh, maybe I want to have a garden later. Why not? This is a very peaceful activity that I really enjoy. And for me, traveling as a volunteer is like a way of discover myself, what I really want to look, to explore different skills, activities that maybe could be interesting to have in the future, but also to help different projects. Now I am in a Buddhist community. Like before in the United States, I stay in hostels, I stay in natural reserves, I stayed in artistic houses, I stayed in so many different projects, and in every place is completely different. You don't know, you it's impossible to have like an image that is how it's going to be, because when you create an image, is the different, and it's like go without a script, like okay, do it, and we don't know what is going to happen, and for me it's that very meaningful, because I think that I have learned a lot of things in 7 months. Like this for me it's a university about myself. And in my work I was looking also like to improve, but in a moment that when I was working, I say no, maybe I have now what I really wanted. I need to go and to see inside myself, and travel as a volunteer for me is also to have this space, because you have plenty of space with yourself. Imagine there are projects that you only volunteer 12 hours per week. Some projects no, but you have all the time that you need for yourself. And I think that volunteer is a powerful tool to transform yourself and transform the others, the projects, and learn about different skills for life. I'm a little nervous because my English is not the best, but let's try.
No, you're doing wonderful, and I'm being very inspired by what you're saying. I think it's so true. I think sometimes when we're in our work environment or in corporate, we don't have that time to think and expand ourselves. And I love how you're saying this journey that you're on. It's like, the university for yourself. It's like you're literally learning as you're living. And it's so true. We often do not give ourselves this space to think and learn about ourselves. I think it's incredible what you're doing, and I know you're going to get so much out of it.
Yeah.
And so now I want to move on to, your home country, Colombia. Obviously, a lot has happened there over the last few years. I've been privileged enough to go and visit once, but very, very short trip. And you are obviously interested in ecotourism, and also talking about peace and conservation in Colombia. So tell us a little bit about your experiences there.
Okay. I am an engineer, but when I was in the university, I decided to become to become a tour guide. And when I was in the university, I started like hiking in a national park of Colombia. And in that moment, I met a lot of people like in the environment area, and that opened a lot of doors to me. And with the time, I started working with National Natural Park of Colombia, that is the institution that lead the conservation efforts around the country. And I was part of the ecotourism leader group from all the areas. And I worked there for 3 years in the community program, trying to involve like the local communities with conservation efforts through the tourism. And because for the Colombia government, the most important thing is to have a good relationship with the communities that are living inside the protected areas, because they are like the people that are going to take care about the territory, about the environment, about the nature. And Colombia is one of the most biodiverse country in all the world. And the communities are like a key that have to be in the table to really preserve the environment. And I was working with this program for three years. And after that, I had the opportunity to work with international cooperation in different projects. and I work with programs to promote the ecotourism in remote areas in the country that were affected by the army group. And we were speaking about areas that 10 years ago nobody wanted to go there, but right now, because Colombia signed an agreement with the army group like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there are a lot of travelers looking for new experience in Colombia, where 10 years ago they can't go, but now it's like it's a trend. But what happened? The local communities in these moments, they don't have the capacities like to receive the travelers and to manage the situation, because they were like in other world, thinking other things, like be afraid, and now it's open, and what is going to happen? How are the communities get advantage of that? How the tourism is really contribute to the conservation and to promote the cultural appropriation of the communities, and this is a good opportunity, because now we have the opportunity to think about how is going to be the tourism in our country in these areas. Maybe there are some other places that there are full of travelers and they don't have the opportunity. And I don't know if you saw a video that is in Europe, there was a protest last week that a town like create a protest because they don't want more tourism, because that increase the prices of the food, that increase the prices of the living in the town, and there is like a problem. For example, I want to give an example about what kind of projects I am working in Colombia. This is when an organization that is Ecotour, that I was working the last year. In Colombia, we have a town that is Vistahermosa Meta. Vistahermosa Meta is was one of the most affected towns in all Colombia for the armed conflict. But Vistahermosa has an endemic monkey, that is the sockeye monkey. And this sockeye is in danger because first for the armed conflict, and second for the deforestation. And okay, and the tourism, how the tourism is going to be involved in a community that has a lot of biodiversity, also were affected by the armed conflict, and now travelers are looking for having experience. We decide with a group of people, a huge group of people, that we were working for 4 years in that, to create an experience to promote the conservation of the sockeye monkey. The experience is the sockeye monkey with faces of fish. And the idea is to create, like, to articulate all the farmers, all the destination in the towns, all in relationship with the sockeye monkey. Then the experience, we are looking always for the sockeye, but also we go to the waterproof, we go waterfalls, to the lagoons, to the forest, and we are trying to create that environment to preserve the habitat of the sockeye monkey. And in that town, we create, for example, a house that where a main house where 10, 15 years ago, the community transformed the cocaine. And now, this same house is a place when they are transforming no cocaine, they are transforming cacao, and they are showing they are like one of the most important hotspot to see the sockeye monkey, and the traveler can have a really like a good experience learning about a sustainable production system with the cacao, learning about how to transform our cacao. After that, go and look for the sockeye monkey, and after that, have a relationship with the communities. Go for an amazing waterfalls, like huge, and it's very enriching experience. What happened with the tourism, that I see that the tourism has two ways. Like, the first way is that it's an opportunity to transform the local communities, but in different ways. For example, how to contribute for the peace. if there are no travelers in these territories, the communities are going to continue growing coca leaves, for example. And if they receive travelers, it's a illicit alternative to say, okay, we have something how to eat, because it's something if they don't get travelers, or they don't have a sustainable alternative, how they are going to live. It's not stop the cocaine, stop the war. No, the problem is not that. The problem is that the people need how to eat, and the tourism can be an alternative, like an income. The other one, the tourism can be a way of say, okay, let's try to preserve the habitat of endemic species. Let's try to preserve the habitat of the sockeye monkey. Let's try to preserve what's the name of that? The a rock art site about a cultural heritage, and now the young people that are trying to know more things about, oh, how is the behaviors of the sockeye monkey, or oh, what happened here before us, because they want to show something to the travelers. This is like one way of the tourism, like to promote the transformation of the communities, and the tourism is an excuse. But the other way is transform the travelers, because in this process we design experience, and the idea with the experience is to give a message to the travelers, and how the travelers are going to be inspired by all these new words that they have in front. And after they have all those experience, what happens next, how they are going to be involved in the conservation effort, how they are going to be involved in the relationship with that communities that they were visiting. And the tourism is a really good like opportunity for that, and it's an excuse. I'm going to be really honest, I don't like the tourism like go to a city and eat delicious food that you can buy in your city, and the people are looking for the same, that in the like looking for the same in every place. No, we have to think about different experience if we really want to contribute. That the tourism can be like a key for create a better world.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I can just hear the passion that you have for ecotourism, and to be able to also, yeah, show the amazing things that your country has to offer. And I think, what you're saying there is so true, right? How can travelers also then contribute, right? First is income. You're absolutely right. I mean, I think in many parts of the world, tourism does help to provide that economy, right? It brings people to the destination. It helps create jobs and make money and things like that. It's about then finding that balance between that extreme, like you were sharing, when people are saying, no, this is too much, versus like, how can we create opportunities of income for these local communities so that they don't then go to other areas. And then the other is like, how can these travelers then play a role in the preservation within their experience, right? And how can they learn, and how can they be inspired by these communities, by these destinations that they're, coming into? And then how can they then take that back with them wherever they go, or even or keep coming back? Who knows? They can also volunteer and do what you're doing. And, your story may inspire others as well.
Okay. There are some elements that for be able to ask like this question, I think that may be 4 elements. And the first element is that we need to look for authentic experience. And what happened? That in the market, everybody is selling authentic experience. And you go to search in Google, travel to Colombia, travel to Mexico, authentic, unique, authentic experience. But it's important like to find really what is authentic in the destination, because sometimes I see that for example, the last year I was traveling in Mexico, in Cozumel, and I went there and I saw so many American shops, and I was thinking, all these people is traveling from the United States to find the same place, the same places here. And what is the meaning of that? And when I am speaking about authentic experiences, for example, think about, oh, why I am not going to travel and to contribute to the conservation of the sockeye monkey in Colombia. Or there are so many of these type of experience, and it's really important, like to find something different. It's like to take the time. Okay, I want to have a meaningful experience, and I want to search for something that could transform my life, and find something really authentic. But no, the authentic, the type of authentic that is, oh, authentic experience in Colombia, because everybody is selling authentic experience. That is the same point, that be very aware about this situation. The second one is, don't be afraid to be out the comfort zone, because we always want like the same things, like have the same experience, and to be open to buy local. For example, buy local. Why am I going to buy local to a local agency? Why I am not going to eat local dishes? Why I am not going to have a deep relationship with local people? But for be able to be like that, you have to be out of the comfort zone, and that is super important, because sometimes we are like keeping the same like mood, and how to go, because if we find an agency and I say, oh no, this agency, I am going to have all the controls, because I am going to speak all the time in English. Okay, why you need to speak in English? Why you don't have 2 weeks to have an Spanish immersion? And that, for that, you need to be out of the comfort zone, and that is super important. The other element is like, be aware that when you are traveling, you are contributing to the climate change, and that is super important, because the last time someone told me that when you travel, for example, from Europe to South America, is the same as if you are cutting like three Amazon trees in the forest, like cut a huge Amazon trees, because they are working for protect the climate change. And be aware that this trip is causing something like that, and okay, let's reduce that, because you travel to Colombia, for example, and after that, to know about Colombia, you take five planes inside the country, and that is terrible, because even if you having the amazing experience, and you are thinking, oh, I am helping the communities, but after that, I saw like what happened with your trip, and was like crazy, because it was a lot of carbon of emissions, and yeah, that, like, to be aware about that. And this is a really key point, that I am not sure where or how the tourism is going to adapt in this situation, because the tourism is contributing more or less 10% of this problem, and is growing and growing and growing, because we are traveling and traveling and traveling, and to contribute for the conservation, we have to think about that. And the other element is, when I was saying buy local, maybe the other element, okay, if you can't buy local, because of course, if I am going to Turkey, I don't know, like, if the company that I'm going to buy locals, who is that company? Maybe, okay, if you are afraid of buy local, try to buy with responsible agencies and tour operators that you know that they have a good chain, and they support the local communities. And that is super key, because there is a problem there. Everybody is sustainable now. Everybody is sustainable. I say sustainable experience, and they say no. The thing is that I contract the local tour guide, and with that I am sustainable. and who say that no, this is very, yeah, okay, and with that they say that they are sustainable and they can offer sustainable trips, and it's very difficult for the travelers. Okay, like ask yourself a question: what is for me sustainable? And after that, look for that experience and look for that tour operators, um, because we are in a world full of sustainable experience, but we are in a world also that is destroying the world and with the sustainable practices. And now all the community companies, huge companies, are sustainable, and maybe we are destroying more the world. And
Yeah.
I think that there are these elements.
Yeah, that's so true. You know, this what they call greenwashing, right? Like using these words, authentic, unique, sustainable, you know, whatever these words are, like you have to be very mindful of how people are using these words in their marketing. But I think the four elements are fantastic, right? What does, you know, be mindful of what wording they're using when it comes to authentic. And I think the second one, especially, don't be afraid to be out of your comfort zone. It's so true. Like it is so that it's really hard to do, right? You want to have, you know, to be in your comfort, but if you really are willing to do something little bit extra, then, you know, be prepared for that. Being aware, I think that's true. I didn't realize it was Amazon trees. So let's be mindful of, you know, how we're traveling and where we're traveling to. And yeah, buy local or at least responsible, right? So do your research, I think, ultimately. But I think that question you asked is like, what does sustainable mean to you? And then align your values up with the companies that you can recognize. Elias, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I have learned so much just from these last few minutes that we've spent together. So I'm going to ask you one final question, and that is, who inspires you?
I know that you are going to ask that question, and I was thinking about that because it's a difficult question. I think that I am inspired by the simple people, like, for example, the farmers, the local tour guides, the community leaders, because like I am inspired with those people who, without much money, without much power, they contribute like to create a better world without like cameras showing like every moment what is happening, and that is the people that inspire me.
I think that is really wonderful. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for taking the time to share your story with us today.
No, thank you. For me, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much.